Okay, hello and welcome. This is a short video that I'm going to sort of explain what the labs are going to look like for this quarter. So it's a bit of a gamble on my part in that I'm sort of letting you choose like what you want to do for your labs, which is crazy until you see what I want to do. And basically the way I'm doing it is I'm breaking it into like three categories, kind of like beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I'll make a video for each of these, and this will sort of be the beginner intro video. But basically what I'm doing is I'm putting out a bunch of labs that are sort of pre-prescribed. Some are actually even from the textbook in the intermediate section, but they go through a number of different things and you can choose them. So basically there's 20 labs and they're all worth different points based on how difficult they are. So I just share my screen so you can see it. This is a spreadsheet that will be shared with you, but you can see here there's like all these points, right? And this sort of says like beginner is yellow, orange is intermediate, red is advanced, and you have to total 300 points total. So so you have to total 300 points total, and you can pick whatever it is that you want to do. So that's kind of nice in that you can choose whatever it is that you think is important, right? If you're trying to do a project or you're trying to do some research, or you're like there might be a skill that might help you with your group project, pick a lab that helps you develop that skill, basically, right? Now, the motivation for this is sort of twofold. One is that ArcGIS Pro is sort of unreliable if you have a Mac computer, and in particular AppStream, which we've learned kind of the hard way through a number of different classes trying to use AppStream. It's not great. It's not really good at letting you save your work. Now, if you have a PC or if you've got a good Mac that you can run Parallels or you can dual boot into Windows, you can run ArcGIS Pro locally, and I suggest that you do that. There's no hardware requirement for this class. I wish there was, because I wish I could give every student a really good computer that they could do all this with. But there are ways to get through this class basically by not using ArcGIS Pro at all. You don't need the textbook, you don't need ArcGIS Pro. If you have them, great, there's more options for you, but I'm just sort of telling you that you don't need to. So I'll just go through kind of the first sort of six labs here and just sort of show you what they are. So the first one is one that I normally actually require my students, and that's just to apply for a GIS job. Find a GIS job online that you think that you might qualify for, that you think is interesting, that is with an organization that you think is cool, and just apply for it basically. And then like I'll double your points, so you get 10 points just for applying and proving that you applied. A screenshot, some sort of confirmation email, something like that. You just upload that, 10 points, right? There's a little write-up that's associated with that, or you say like, these are the skills that they wanted. These are the skills that I don't have. If I was going to apply again, here's what I should probably work on to develop my skills. The point of this lab is really to get you out there looking for jobs, right? Because GIS, amongst other things, is a really marketable job skill. So get into the job sites, Indeed, there's GIS Jobs Clearinghouse, there's GIS Jobs, there's, you can just go on Monster or whatever and just search that keyword. But, there's all these jobs out there. Take a look at them, and then also just see, like, what I would always advise students is like, go to the end, look at like the desired qualifications, right? Or like preferred qualifications, and just see what they are, right? Chances are there's a bunch of stuff in there that you don't understand. That's the point. The point is that you go find the things that you don't understand, you Google them, you look them up, and then you figure out, okay, these are the skills that I need to build in order to get this job, right? And who knows, you might actually apply for the job, might get the job, you might get a job offer, they might let you work remotely while you're in school, like you could turn it into a class project, like sky's the limit, right? So applying for that GIS job and just looking for GIS jobs in general is really good, because it just kind of gets you into like the mindset of like, how can I use these skills for work and for gainful employment and making myself money? And, what are the skills within GIS that I need to develop to actually get there? So that's the whole point of that. The second lab is GIS Stack Exchange question. Now, if you don't know what Stack Exchange is, Google it. But once you start Googling GIS problems, you'll start realizing that the answers are largely on these online forums, right? And so part of this lab, the point is to like get you engaged in the online community to start to like look up stuff on these forums and try, work on your search terms so you can, find the right answers and that kind of thing. So you could either do GIS Stack Exchange or GeoNet. So GeoNet is specific to the Esri software, ArcGIS Pro, ArcMap, that kind of thing. And then GIS Stack Exchange is like all GIS software. I suggest you don't actually do this lab until you have a good question. Don't just go on there to like ask a question, just ask a question. Wait till you get stumped on something and you can't figure it out, and having trouble, your peers can't help you, maybe the professor isn't really being that helpful. And then you go on and you ask, right? And you say, here is my problem. Here's a screenshot. Here's like some code, or here's like what I'm trying to do. Here's my error message. Somebody help. And somebody will. It's pretty amazing. I don't know who these people are, but they're like heroes of the internet, and they come to your aid and they help you. And then it's like Reddit or something, where like the best answers get upvoted basically. And so to ask a question, you need to like create a free login and all that stuff. It's all free, but it's a good way to get yourself just engaged in the community. And so, like I said, wait until you got a good problem and something that you really can't figure out, and you just need to like reach out beyond the confines of the class and reach out to like the larger community. Number 3 is make your first web map. So this is great for students who have Macs in particular, who don't have ArcGIS Pro on their desktop. You can actually do all the ArcGIS online stuff through the web, through the browser. So make your first web map there. That's pretty self-explanatory. Simple. The best web maps are simple web maps, trying to convey a couple different pieces of information, change the symbology, get familiar with ArcGIS Online, right? You can put content up there. You can have groups, like every group project can have groups, and they can host your own content, and you can share, and you can make web maps and do all these kind of cool things like that. So that's, getting you into like this online GIS sort of environment. Number 4, make a professional website. So let's see here. I have an old student, and I always show his website, Mapping with Matt. And Matt just got into Yale, and I think that this website helped him get into Yale. So basically, it's just a portfolio. It's an online portfolio. So you're going to have a resume, you're going to have a LinkedIn page, you're going to have all these things that for your professional development. When you apply for jobs, you put all these things on there. Having a personal website is a really good idea. It just shows that you're going that extra mile. It shows like visuals of the things that you're doing, right? And maybe you're not a geographer, maybe you're more of an anthropology minded student, or like you're a biologist, or like this isn't quite your bag. Maps are still great for visuals, right? Because no one wants to go on there and like read your 30-page senior project, right? It's super boring. So like having good visuals, and even if it's just stuff that you did in class or the last class or whatever, it's still good. Like all of like a bunch of these are just labs from my class, right? And they look legit. Like this is an old lab, right? This is just like Matt was just making these things, and like some of this is like a research presentation. This is like model builder stuff, which you can learn in this class, doing some database stuff, working with elevation models, examples of cartography, raster analysis, interpolation. So mappingwithmatt.com if you want like a good example of a student website. And this is sort of, this is really for you. This is like a professional development thing that could help you get a job, and it's just a good thing to do. You can get free websites through Google Sites. I think you can get like free WordPress sites and stuff like that, or you can like buy your own domain and make it fancy, like Mapping with Matt. But honestly, this helped get Matt into grad school. So if you're thinking of going to grad school, you want like a good job in GIS, and you have a bunch of examples of your work, put it onto a website, right? Make it something shareable. You can link to it in your LinkedIn. You can put a link in your resume. This is good stuff for you professionally. And it's not really like building your GIS skills per se, but it's a place to show your GIS skills. So yeah, that's sort of that one. All right, so the next one is mosaic rasters in QGIS. So where did that one go? Okay, so QGIS tutorials. Okay, so this is this really great website called QGIS Tutorials. I'll talk more about this in the second video, but which one was it? Mosaic, raster mosaicing clipping. So this is this lab, and the reason I like this one is because a lot of people are going to use three-dimensional data and elevation models. It's really good to just have a three-dimensional picture of where you are in the world. It's not always important, but what this does is it allows you to take these tiles, these raster tiles, put them all together, mosaic them into a single scene. And so in this case, we're using Sri Lanka, but you could use whatever area of the world, and you just follow the steps, right? So here's all the data, but you can also get this from from other online sources. It's linked here, and you just go through this tutorial basically. So you'll notice that this is in QGIS, not ArcGIS. So that's just a different software. But the nice thing about it is you can do it on a Mac, right? That's the beauty of this. I'm trying to at least start the first part of this class so that like anyone can do this on any computer. ArcGIS has some amazing stuff in it, but to start here. And yeah, so then you basically get all these tiles, you stitch them all together, and then you create kind of a hillshade model, and you can clip to the boundary, you know, and then I want you to just like turn it into a map. So if you go into the Canvas page, I actually put all these things in here, right? So we got labs 1 through 20, and this would be this one, lab 5. So lab 6 now is basically anything else on that site. So all of these are QGIS tutorials. Download QGIS. You can do any of these tutorials. If any of these seem interesting to you, great. I made them variable credit or whatever for the points. So I think, what did I say here? Let's just make sure. Basic 20 points, intermediate 30 points, advanced 40 points, right? So if you do anything in this category, 20, anything in this category, 30, anything in this category and beyond, 40, right? And so, you know, these are all pretty plug and play. It's just almost like a textbook. Like you just go through it. They have screenshots, they have steps. Some of the screenshots won't exactly match your software because the software has been updated since, and so it looks a little bit different, but like all the tools are the same and you can figure it out. So, so this is like for the person who doesn't want to touch ArcGIS, but still wants to do some cool GIS stuff, do this. Right? And you can pick as many of these as you want. You could do like all of these and get like all of your points. But this really does tell you kind of how to do GIS without paying Esri a bunch of money. And yeah, and then doing it on any platform. If you had a Linux computer or something like that, you could do it all in QGIS. And so I think it's really important to like expose you and give you the option to do this. So if you're trying to just avoid Esri software completely altogether, this is where you would spend a lot of your time basically. And again, that's variable credit. So I say 40 points there, but that could be upped if you did a bunch of them. I'm okay with you multiplying those and doing a bunch. So those are sort of like the beginner labs, right? And those are the ones that are not worth a ton of points, up to 40 points a pop, but more in the like 10 to 20 point range. But I still like suggest that you start, even if you know you're a master's student and you want to go on and you don't, you know, you want to try like these crazy coding things or whatever, like that's great. But start here anyway. Like applying for the GIS job, that's just a good exercise for everybody. Do it. It's 10 points. It gets you towards your 300. And yeah, so I'm going to stop this video. I'll start another one and I'll talk about the intermediate lab.